Okay, part two to this video in regards to the connection between Mexico or Central America or whatever indigenous populations south of the border of the U.S. and the connections they have with Southeast indigenous populations of the U.S. Okay, so anyway, my correspondence on Facebook is with a Facebook page that I am a member of, and long story short, I posted. Well, wait a minute, hold on. Someone else posted. I was in contact with this one guy on this Facebook page, and he has a YouTube. He has a YouTube channel, and I'm trying to remember what's his channel name. I'll get back to that. But anyway, he's been very, very, very helpful with me learning about all this stuff and how it all connects. So anyway, this is what he posted on Facebook. He was like, this is mainly for me, but thought other people will find it interesting. I was talking to Richard Thornton about your DNA showing Mexico region. Hear what he said. Hey, Joseph, there was a branch of the Creeks in Virginia who were pure Mexican called the Tamahiti. Virginians called them Tamahitans. Tamahiti is the Teutonic and Northern Chantal Mayan word for merchant people. They were forced out of Tamaulipas State, Mexico, around 1250 AD by Chichimec barbarians and settled in southeast Georgia, northwest South Carolina, near Murphy, North Carolina, and in southwest Virginia. In the mid-1700s, they returned to Georgia because of repeated raids by the Cherokees. So, real quick, fast forward. There's been sightings of Mayan artifacts and things of that nature and mounds in the state of Georgia. So, anyway, so I responded. I said, this is good. And another person responded. He says, the Tamahiti were indeed the Tamahitans, Mohitans, Monotans, and allied to the Yuchi brethren. Let me know if I have sent you the information on the Tamahitans that Rankin did for the Siouan Language Conference last June. The Tamahitans were a part of the Yasa people, our people and us of them. And then I said, wow, so my results connected me back to my people. Now this is what I was trying to figure out. There's a connection to Mexico. Thank you. Or Mexico. So anyway, that was my response to that. And then I got this long email about the creek and the Sapani and that connection. And I'll read that real quick. Hopefully this video won't run out on me. So let's see. Try to make this big as possible because it's kind of small font here. All right. Bear with me, people. Okay. Interesting essay by Creek researcher Richard Thornton. Richard is deeply involved in researching the ancient Mayan connection to Southeast indigenous peoples. Yay! We need more representation, right? On obscure Maya tribe with a Creek name celebrates the Green Corn Festival, or how the principal chief of the Muskogee Creek Nation got his title. There is a little-known branch of the Mayans in Mexico that still today practices many of the most cherished traditions of the Creek people, such as Green Corn Festival and Stomp Dance. There are the Tumult of the Savannas in Tabasco State. We will get back to them. The the Tomatli of southeast Georgia, northwest South Carolina, Cherokee County, North Carolina, and southwestern Virginia were major players in the southeastern United States until the 1700s. Their main branch on the Altamaha River was listed by Hernando de Soto and several other Spanish explorers. The Southeast Georgia Tomatli were original members of the Yamasee Alliance, but by the time of Georgia's settlement in 1732, were staunch members of the Creek Confederacy. A majority faction of their colonies in South Carolina, Tamasee, in North Carolina, Tomatli, expelled their pro-Muskogee Creek faction, Kitani, and became leading members of the Cherokee Alliance in South Carolina. The Cherokees later joined the Rickahawkins of Virginia and Northeast Tennessee in the 1690s to form what became known as the Cherokee Alliance. The Carolina Tomatli traditionalists moved to Georgia and Alabama. Over time, intermarriage, of course, with the dominant Algonquian bands of the Cherokees changed the Lower Cherokees' culture, appearance, and eventually their language. Although South Carolina barely acknowledges its extensive Muskogean Mesoamerican heritage that occupied most of its landscapes, the Lower Cherokees were always a relatively tiny group. At peak size, they had about 200 men of fighting age, according to British archives. They joined the powerful Rickahawkins for survival. Interesting. The reason that contemporary Cherokees can't read Lower Cherokee today is that it was an Itsati Hitchiti Creek dialect. The Lower Cherokees were nearly exterminated by the unending plagues and wars of the 18th century. However, they passed on Muskogean traditions such as the Green Corn Festival and stomp dance to the main body of Rickahawkin Cherokees. Some of those Tomatli who moved to Tennessee and later Northwest Georgia did survive to pass on their genes to the Oklahoma Cherokees today. Interesting. The main body of the Georgia Tomatli, along with traditionalists among the Carolina Tomatli, joined the Creek Confederacy. Their cousins in Virginia, the Tamahitans, refused to join in an alliance with their most hated enemy, the Rickahawkins, then returned home to Georgia in the 1730s to join the Creek Confederacy. Tomatli, who converted to Catholicism in the 1600s, initially moved to a mission station near Valdosta, Georgia, where the Georgia Welcome Center on I-75 is now located. The Tama Creek tribal town in Wingham, Georgia is named after them. These Tomatli or Tamali were forced to move to Florida because of raids by Creek's allies of the British. They eventually ended up in Louisiana, where they are now a state-recognized tribe associated with the Appalachi. Back to Mexico. The other day, I was skimming Mexican sociology periodicals and was astounded to come across this article. Antiguas Historias Sagradas y Ceremonias de los Chantales de Tamulte de las Sabanas, Tabasco, Mexico, by Enrique Hipólito Hernández and Marco Antonio Vázquez Darvila. Sorry, I struggled through that one. It is also posted separately online for those of you who can read Spanish or have access to a translator. I was mainly interested in the Tamulte and Chanto parts of the title until I read this paragraph. I nearly dropped out of my chair. Okay, it's in Spanish, so bear with me. For those who speak Spanish, hopefully you can understand what I mean, or what I'm trying to say. En esta montaña se hacía una ceremonia Inesaya Yamada Keush Pan Chok Naj literalmente come la cabeza del maíz tierno, the green corn festival, comer lo primero o primicia del maíz tierno. Y se la daba a conocer si en los cultivos se presentaban daños cualquiera cosa que ocurriera en los cultivos se le iba a avisar. Wow, that hurt. That really hurt. The authors apparently were not knowledgeable about the customs of the southeastern indigenous cultures or the origins of the Mauli people, Tamte or Tarmvitli. Okay, Tamvtli in the Creek languages. They were fascinated by the fact that these Chonto Mayas, ate corn on the cob unlike most Mexicans. Unlike almost all Mexican indigenous peoples, the men and women love to dance together in traditional dances like our stump dance. Unlike virtually all other Mesoamerican tribes, their calendar begins on the summer solstice, not the winter solstice. Now, who does this sound like? Although they now speak a dialect of Cho Maya, their customs are very different from the better-known branches of the Mayas. Okay, ancient Muscogean history 101. Okay, I'm almost done reading this email. It's like so long. The ancestors of the Muscogeans came from the west central region of Mexico that is now the beautiful states of, it's another word that I've been working on, Michoacan, Jalisco, and Colima. They were pushed out of that region by South American immigrants now known as the Purepecha or Tarascans. The remnant indigenous peoples of northern Jalisco, or maybe it's Jalisco without pronouncing a J, are equally tall and good looking as the Creeks. Good looking, huh? The Proto-Muscogeans first settled in Tamaulipas state where their cultures blended with that of the Chontal Maya traders who spoke a dialect that mixed Chomaya with Tontonic. Tama is Tontonic for to trade or buy. Tamahi is merchant in Tontonic. Tamali means merchant people. And the Nahuatl language of Tamaulipas. Paz is Chantal Maya for territory. Tamahiti is Isati Creek for merchant people. The te and t suffix that one sees on so many Muscogean ethnic names in the southeast is still used by the Chantal Maya. It means ethnic group or tribe. A good example would be Coasati, Bobcat people in Itati, the TLI suffix means the same but came from the Teutonics. Okay, the last known radiocarbon data for a Proto-Muscogean site in northern Jalisco is 923 AD. My speculation is that the last Muscogeans to leave Jalisco were either the Cachita or Colime, who were the last Muscogeans to arrive on the Chattahoochee River. Around 1250 AD, a volcanic eruption in Central Mexico caused winter-like weather that caused the crops to fail. Oh, wow. Chichimec barbarians, primitive Stone Age peoples, poured out of the Sierra Oriental mountains into Tamaulipas and northern crews. They sacked the Teutonic capital of Tahan, and pillaged the Muscovian and Chantal Maya settlements on the coast of Tamaulipas. Those who could hitch rides on Chantal Mayan sea craft and took refuge elsewhere.